Picture this. World War II. The final push. The Allies are racing across France. But they hit a wall. A massive fuel shortage grinds the entire Third Army to a halt. General George S. Patton, one of history's most aggressive and controversial commanders, is furious. His tanks are sitting ducks. His momentum is gone, and his superiors are breathing down his neck. The situation is dire. Every expert, every intelligence report, every logistical officer is telling him the same thing. The fuel is gone, the supply lines are broken, and the advance is over. But in this moment of crisis, Patton ignores them all. He turns to one man, a relatively unknown colonel named H.W. Perry. While everyone else saw an insurmountable problem, Perry saw a solution. This is the incredible untold story of how one man's ingenuity and unwavering belief saved Patton's legendary campaign, and why a general famous for his own iron will chose to bet everything on a single subordinate when the entire world told him he was wrong. What's up, everyone? And welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating story of trust, innovation, and battlefield logistics that you probably haven't heard before. It's a story that proves sometimes the loudest voices in the room aren't the ones you should listen to. So, how did one colonel manage to pull a rabbit out of a hat and get an entire army moving again? Let's get into it. To understand the gravity of the situation, we need to go back to late August 1944. Patton's Third Army had just executed a breathtaking blitz across France, encircling German forces and liberating towns at an incredible pace. They were the spearhead, the unstoppable force. But this rapid advance came at a cost. Their supply lines were stretched to the breaking point, hundreds of miles long and vulnerable. The primary method for transporting fuel was the famous Red Ball Express, a massive convoy of trucks running day and night. But even this historic effort couldn't keep up with the Third Army's thirst for gasoline. Patton's tanks and vehicles consumed a staggering 400,000 gallons of fuel every single day. By the end of August, the tanks were literally running dry on the side of the road. The Red Bull Express was prioritizing other fronts, and the official word from the highest levels of command, including Eisenhower's headquarters, was that Patton had to stop. The consensus was clear. The logistics simply didn't support his continued advance. Imagine the frustration. You're on the verge of a historic breakthrough. The enemy is reeling, and you're told to just stop because of paperwork and supply chain issues. Patton, being Patton, was not a man who took no for an answer. He raged. He pleaded. He threatened. He suspected his rivals, like British General Montgomery, were deliberately being given his share of the fuel. In his diary, he wrote, "My men can eat their belts, but my tanks have got to have gas." He knew that stopping meant giving the Germans precious time to regroup, dig in, and fortify their defenses, which would cost thousands of lives later on. The pressure was immense. His own staff, looking at the same grim reports as everyone else, were preparing for a long, frustrating elf. This is where Colonel H.W. Perry enters the story. Perry wasn't a frontline commander. He was Patton's G4, the chief logistics officer. His job was to manage the unglamorous but absolutely vital world of supplies, while everyone else was looking at the problem from a top-down perspective. How many trucks are available? What's the official allocation? Perry looked at it from the ground up. He wasn't just reading reports. He was talking to the drivers, the mechanics, the guys on the ground. Perry came to Patton with a radical idea, something no one else had considered. He had noticed something interesting. While the main supply lines were dry, there were dozens of captured German fuel dumps and abandoned French civilian depots scattered across the territory they had just liberated. The official intelligence reports had either dismissed these as empty or written them off as containing low-quality fuel unsuitable for American military vehicles. The experts had spoken. This fuel was useless, but Perry was skeptical. He proposed a daring plan. Instead of waiting for fuel to come from the rear, they would live off the land. He would dispatch small, mobile teams to investigate every rumored fuel cache. They would test the fuel on the spot. If it was usable, they'd load it onto any vehicle they could find. Capture German trucks, civilian farm vehicles, anything with wheels, and rush it directly to the front lines. It was a decentralized, improvised, and highly unorthodox solution. It went against every regulation in the book. Think about the risk Patton was taking by even listening to this. He was being told by his superiors, by the entire SHAEF command structure, to halt. Following Perry's plan meant directly disobeying that spirit, if not the letter of his orders. If it failed, if the fuel was bad and ruined his engines, he would be a laughingstock. His career would be over. His army would be stranded, and he would be solely to blame. Every other officer was advising caution and compliance. So why did Patton trust Perry? It came down to Patton's unique leadership style. While he was a demanding, often tyrannical commander, he also had an incredible eye for talent and a deep respect for competence. He judged men not by their rank or their pedigree, but by their results. Perry had consistently proven himself to be a brilliant problem solver, a man who got things done. Patton had seen Perry's work firsthand throughout the campaign. He knew Perry wasn't just a yes-man. He was an innovator who understood the gritty reality of the battlefield. Patton also shared Perry's aggressive, can-do philosophy. The idea of sitting still was torture for him. Perry's plan, risky as it was a plan of action. It was a way to fight back against the logistical paralysis. For a man like Patton, the risk of doing something was always preferable to the certainty of failure that came with doing nothing. He saw in Perry a reflection of his own belief that will and ingenuity could overcome any obstacle. So, Patton gave the green light. "Get me the gas," he essentially told Perry. "I don't care how you do it." Perry's teams fanned out across the French countryside. It was like a treasure hunt, but for gasoline. They found fuel in hidden barns, in underground municipal tanks, and in hastily abandoned German supply points. They tested it, siphoned it, and loaded it up. They used jeeps, trucks, and even mule carts. In some cases, creating a shadow supply network that operated completely outside the official channels. The results were astonishing. Within days, a trickle of fuel started reaching the thirsty tanks at the front. It wasn't the 400,000 gallons a day they needed, but it was enough. It was enough to get a few key armored columns moving again. It was enough to conduct limited offensives, to keep pressure on the Germans, and to prevent them from properly establishing a new defensive line. While the rest of the Allied command thought the Third Army was stationary, Patton was quietly and cleverly pushing forward, thanks entirely to Perry's ghost convoys. This operation, often called Patton's private pipeline, was a masterclass in logistical improvisation. It completely bypassed the bureaucratic logjam that had brought the army to a standstill. Colonel Perry didn't solve the entire fuel crisis, but he provided the critical lifeline that kept the Third Army in the fight during that crucial period. He gave Patton the breathing room he needed until the official supply lines could finally catch up. The story of Patton and Perry is more than just a cool wartime anecdote. It's a powerful lesson in leadership and trust. It shows that sometimes the established experts, with all their data and charts, can be wrong. They can become so focused on the official way of doing things that they fail to see the creative solutions right in front of them. It highlights the importance of leaders who are willing to listen to dissenting voices and empower their subordinates to take calculated risks. Patton's genius wasn't just in his battlefield tactics. It was in his ability to identify and trust a man like Colonel Perry. He recognized that the guy closest to the problem often has the best solution. While everyone else was telling him it's impossible, Patton found the one man who said, "Let me try." And by trusting that one man, he kept his army moving, saved countless lives, and cemented his place in history. It's a reminder that in any organization, from the military to the business world, fostering a culture where innovative ideas can rise from any level is the key to overcoming the impossible. What do you guys think? Have you ever been in a situation where the experts were wrong and a simple, creative solution was the answer? Let me know down in the comments. It's a fascinating aspect of leadership we don't talk about enough. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden histories. We'll see ya in the next one.